So in this one, what I want to do is I want to actually start implementing this FastAPI backend. So what we're going to do, the plan here is we're going to create two folders, one for front end and one for back end. And the back end, we're going to put our FastAPI implementation, and the front end is going to have our normal Streamlit application. And that way we can kind of have the two communicate back and forth. And I think this will be a little bit more of a scalable solution as, our app grows and we have 1 million users on it. So let's get into it. Alright, so let's first start with the folder structure here. So we'll make a new folder here, call it front end. And we're going to take from here to here, and we're going to put that in front end. Then I want to avoid the pip file, so then we're going to take what's around that, move that into front end. I want to keep the docs on the outside, and Streamlit and PyTest cache, that'll also go into the front end. Just don't ask me again, that's fine. And then we'll also make a new folder here for backend. So now if we go into the pip file, we're also going to want to change around these aliases a little because this isn't going to work anymore. So we'll call this front end. And I want to show you something with that because what you'd initially think is do cd front end, and then in bash you can use a double ampersand to combine commands like that. But if we do pipenv run front end here, see, then we're going to get an error that the command cd can't be found. So what's happening here is pipenv is using its own shell by default, so it doesn't use bash, so it's actually looking for a program here called cd, which we don't have. So the way that we can get around that is we can spawn bash from within that shell, and then we can use this -c parameter, which is going to basically take this entire string and run it in bash. So if we do that, making sure that we put quotes around that, see, now it'll end up working as expected. Alright, so now I've stopped that. So what we actually want to do is the athletes.duckdb, that should go in the backend. I must have missed that before. And we'll also create a new file here called the routes.py. And so this is going to hold all of the routes that we generate with FastAPI. So let's go ahead and install what we actually need right now. So pipenv install. So we'll do FastAPI, and then what we can do besides that, and this is on the documentation page, is we can do a brackets and then standard. So this is because FastAPI also has a lot of packages that are often used with it that we want to take advantage of. So like Pydantic would be included in this standard installation. So we just want to specify that. You can also just specify FastAPI, and that just includes what you minimally need for it, like an actual server to end up running it, but we will just do the standard install. Alright, so now as for the actual file, it's actually very easy to set this up. What we're going to do is we're just going to do from FastAPI import FastAPI, and that's going to create a class which we can make an instance from, which we'll do with a variable called app. So app equals FastAPI and just parentheses. And then so to set up an actual route, what we're going to do is the way you do it in FastAPI is you use what's called the decorator, which I'm not sure if we've ended up using yet, but you specify what the actual FastAPI instance name is, and then so the way that, just a little bit of background, the way that routes work in a normal REST environment is you have HTTP verbs. So you have get, which is kind of like it's literally just getting all your data. It's just being able to actually read it from the server. There is post, which is more like if you're creating something. So if you're creating like a new object, whatever that might be. There's put, which is where you actually update something, and then there's delete, which is where you actually delete something. So that's just a brief overview, but basically, so what we're trying to do is we just want to read what's going to be coming from the server. So we just do app.get, and then it's the route name, so we're going to use /API we'll just call it athletes. And then underneath that, we do the actual method. So we're just going to call this get athletes. And then, so what we're going to do then is we're just going to do something really basic. We're just going to return hello world, but the way that APIs typically works is you want to respond with something in JSON form. So basically responding in like a list or a dictionary in order so that client side applications can parse it. So we're just going to put in a quick dictionary here, and we're just going to say the message is hello world. Alright, so now to actually run this file, we're going to want to go back to the pit file, make another alias for the backend. And so this one is going to be similar. We're going to want to use a bash command, right? Because we're going to want to cd to the backend folder. So we'll say bash-c, and then the string that we want to run is we want to cd into the backend. And we use the double ampersand for chaining. And then, so to actually be able to run this server, FastAPI call comes with something called, I believe it's, I don't even know, like UV acorn or something like that. And then the syntax of what this takes in. Well, first of all, so this is a WSGI or ASGI server, which stands for, I have it in my notes here, Asynchronous Server Gateway Interface, which is a mouthful, hence the acronym. Basically what it means though is it's able to actually run your code in a loop so that it'll just listen on a certain port for whenever something ends up calling it. So we're going to do that, and then the syntax that this takes to be able to actually run this is, first of all, the file name where the FastAPI instance is defined. So the file name is called routes. We're just doing routes, not routes.py. And then the syntax for it is we'll do a colon and then the actual variable that is the FastAPI instance, which is app. And then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take advantage of something called hot reloading. So that means that whenever we change a file on the back end, that it will just automatically restart the server so that we don't have to do that manually. And that's really helpful for development. And then we want to specify an actual port that we want to listen on. So by default it's 8000 if you don't specify this, but I want to specify another port. So I'm going to use the port variable and I'm going to put it on 5000. And then that should be all we need, I believe. So if we do pip ev run backend. Okay. And it's starting up and you can see it's on port 5000. Alright, so now that we have a route set up, what we need to do is we need to actually load the data. So we want to actually be able to call the backend from the Streamlit app that we have, the front end. So instead of importing DuckDB and OS, we're going to need a library called request, which, yes, okay, we do have that, great. And down here, first of all, we're not going to be caching a resource anymore. And let's see, what we'll do is we will do erase all that. So typically what you do is you call it res, stands for results, and that's where you actually make the actual call itself. So we want to call the request library, and then we'll do request.get, and then for right now we'll hard code it. So we want to go over to localhost because that's where our backend is going to be running, right? And we specified it on port 5000. And then /API/athletes. So that's how that'll work. And then what we will do is we need to actually get the data from the result. So the result is going to return a result object. So we're going to need to massage that a little bit. So for right now, we'll just write out the response onto the screen. And we'll say st.write, and then res.json will actually get the JSON response that we specified. So remember, in routes here, we put in a dictionary and we just had a key, message, and a value, hello world, right? So we just do that, and then we should just be able to save that, and then we'll need both the backend and the front end running. So we'll just open up a new terminal, do pip env run front end, and then I'll bring that over. Okay, and then yeah, an error has occurred. Please contact the admin. Which is fine, that's expected because we're returning this silly little JSON here, which doesn't make much sense. But I just wanted to do that to be able to show you how we can get the response from the backend. So in the next video, we will actually return all the athletes' data. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.